Hi guys, this is Justin back with an engineer's perspective, and today I'm going to talk about what I think will be an unpopular opinion. So I've got 3 tools here today from Leatherman. They're all in the, full size category, what I would call like a working tool, not the professional grade like the Super Tool 300 or the Surge. So here we've got the Charge Plus with the, wrong side, 154 cm blade and the aluminum scales. Then we've got what it's derived from, the Wave. I don't think it says what's 420HC blade on it. And then the rebar over here. And basically what I'm going to present is that if you are looking for a tool to get work done, that this is not only a waste of money, but is a worse tool than the Wave. Yeah. So up front of all 3 of these tools, this is the one I've used the most by a lot, like a lot. This is probably my most used Leatherman. This is the one I carry every day, but we'll get into why that is. So let's take the rebar out because this is the big comparison right now. So let's take a look at them. They both have the same exact blade. They have the same exact saws, same exact everything. Everything is the same except for a few points. So the 154 cm steel. So this steel will last longer than the 420HC if you're sitting there cutting up ropes and boxes all day. Yeah, pretty much stuff like that. And then the other difference is that on the serrated blades, on the Wave, you've got just this standard one, and here you've got a gut hook on the Charge. And then the other difference is, of course, the glaring one is these handles. Is you've got these good looking aluminum handles. They do make it a little bit lighter than the Wave is by a whole 0.1 ounces. So depending on whether or not you pooped or took a drink of water, you might notice that, but it doesn't really matter for all practical purposes. So those are the differences: the blade, the gut hook, the handles. So why is this a worse tool than this, or why is it a worse deal? Well, first, let's just go up to prices. So the Wave Plus, this one right here, is $100, weighs 8.5 ounces. This one right here, the Charge Plus, is $140 and weighs 8.4 ounces. So they weigh the same. So what do you get for those $40? Well, those 3 differences in the tool itself, and the Charge Pluses come with a pocket clip, which I wasn't smart enough to get out here, and a quarter set of bits. So, for example, I've got a full bit set here, and when you buy the Charge, you get 1 card and it's half full. And notice on this bit set how like a Torx is with the Torx, flatheads with flat, is they only included the most used bits in there. So it's a decent bit set for sure. But for $40, you get those 3 things. Well, a clip, I think you can buy them for $5. We'll call it 6 to make the math easy. For $6, and you can buy the full bit kit, so you get 4 times the capability for $24. So you're at $130. You're $10 short with the Wave if you would go that and then buy the bit kit and the clip separate, and you'd have 4 times the bit driving capability. So if you think all you wanted that little set, then maybe that's worth it, and you don't end up, and then the $10 difference isn't a big deal to you. But if you're like me, and 2 things happen is, 1, I don't use the clip, so that's a waste of money. And number 2 is this quarter set of bits. Just, it's a good set, but it doesn't save the day when the day needs saving for me. so I need the full set anyways. And then moreover, I don't carry this on me all the time, so it's not actually that useful. It's just like when the day needs saving, it's in my car or my backpack, but it doesn't carry it on me, so I could go without this. So for me, this doesn't give me any extra value. So you're paying 40 bucks. So let's just kind of go through it then for each different aspects, if it's an upgrade or not. And like I said, I like the charge. I carry it every day. But so I've got the two blades here. They're exactly identical, but this has the better steel. So the 154 cm will last longer in your everyday use, but me, I'm a snob, this guy behind the camera. So for example, I'm always carrying one of these. So I already have tons of money into tons of knives that all cut better than these blades do. So having this blade over that one doesn't really matter a whole lot. And it actually, in my opinion, has detriments. So when you're cutting on, I don't know, like hard things, let's say, I'm trying to cut a rope in my, so I stick it on the rope and I'm cutting it against concrete. Well, you just dulled this blade, and this blade is going to dull just as fast as this one on concrete. Or I use it to open up a bag of sand. Same thing. These two dull the same speed in sand. Same thing would go for your S30V in there. So on the things that tend to really dull these Leatherman blades, it's the same. But then there's something that's common that this will destroy the 420HC are boxes and ropes. Well, I know a lot of people don't use them, and I didn't for a long time, but these guys come with serrated blades. And you know what these serrated blades are way better at than the plain blades? Is cutting boxes and ropes. So all of the advantages you get with the 154 cm, in my opinion, are negated by the fact that when they dull, you're going to dull them the same against concrete or whatever, or against steel, smacking it against steel or whatever you're doing. And for the abrasive materials, you should be using this blade. So 6 one way, half dozen the other. I don't think it's a real advantage, and then it just takes a little bit longer to sharpen the 154 cm. I might say I tend to get a finer edge with the 420HC, but I just don't think that's true. I would expect this to come up nicer than the 420, but so if you just carry a Leatherman, no other side blade, then that's valid. But you decide. So the blade, not a huge improvement. The gut hook is quick. Personally, if I was skinning a deer, then I could find some use for that. I still don't need it, but I'm not doing that, so I don't have a use for this. I do like the thought of it, of seatbelt, get it. So you can do that with that for sure. But if you want to depend on that as your seatbelt cutting tool, then it's up to you, or just like having that. But I don't use it. And the biggest difference, in my opinion, that was actually two. Is the scales. The scales make this tool worse, straight up, notably so. So for one, this is thicker than the Wave. So that's frustrating. But the biggest one is, do you see how the Wave is these just beautifully rounded handles? It is so much more comfortable, especially when you're really applying force on something to turn it or grab it. Whereas these guys don't hurt, but this is like a cloud. You could squeeze it all day long, no big deal. But you see, these are rounded, but they are so much more square, and they dig into your hand. So if you're grabbing on stuff hard, Wave all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. And the last thing is, if you're a guy that does a lot of electrical work with your Leathermans, especially if you're one to use this crimper up in here, which I just do electrical stuff occasionally, so it's nice if you just can, bop this out and fix something if you need to. a controller's not working right, so you go over there and you're like, what's going on? Oh, the wires got pulled, so you just fix it really quick with your Leatherman. Do you see how on these scales, how they cut like that? So there's no really material up in this area. Whereas on the charge, do you see how it comes up like that? So if you crimp a wire with the wave, it just crimps it right down in there. Is on the charge, because these scales are so fat up there, you'll crimp it on the crimper and then also where each of those scales are. Now the scale ones are not like full depth crimps, but your crimp is gonna have 2 impressions, one on each side of the main crimp. And then because of that, you also have to push more force down to get the same quality of middle crimp. So it's not as good for electrical jobs, and that's a downside. And it's easier to pinch yourself in there, but it's been a long time since I pinched myself in there. But you can't do it. You won't do it on the wave. So that's why I think the wave is a better tool than the charge. And if you're like, oh, I want to save 1/10 of an ounce, once again, that's like nothing. And if you wanted to save weight, you'd buy a rebar. And I was going to include that in this video, but I don't want to make this one too long. So I'll just do that in a different video. Would be the rebar if you wanted to save weight, and a whole bunch of cheddar. And if you're like, oh, the bit exchanger is a big deal to me, well, you can buy that guy right there for very little money. And you've got a bit exchanger. Boom, just like that. So yeah, so that's why the charge is a more expensive and not as good tool as the wave. And if you're just a working person trying to get the best quality tool, then the wave is the way to go. If you're like me and you just love Leathermans and you're kind of a snob and you like knives, then and you just want to be different, that was the main reason I bought the charge, just because the black handles are different than the charge. So that's all I got for you. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Bye.